Hi there, this is Abhishek, and in this video I will give you a quick introduction about Shiny framework within R. So Shiny framework is basically a web framework which helps you develop the web applications within the R. Now you may think that why do you need a web application framework, or you want to do a web application development within the R, and what can be uses? Then in my view, or the benefits I have seen in the past, is something like automation of analytics. So for example, if you have a certain data set on which you need to keep on producing the similar kind of result, then obviously you need to go ahead and enter the commands here in the console and keep on re-execution of the commands. But if it is the case, then you can simply develop one application for you and give certain parameters about what are the next steps that you want to execute, or keep on selecting the information, and the Shiny will going to execute the commands for you. Since it is so tightly integrated within the R, it executes all the commands that you have given and keep on doing the automation for you, so you can save a lot of time. Apart from that, another usage for this is about sharing your work with other users. So for example, if you have done some analysis and you want to share with others, you can upload your work on Shiny server, which we will talk maybe in a later videos about how to share the work with other users. But the idea is that you can share your work with other users so that they can benefit from your analysis. Another way I can think of, and I have used it personally, is something where I can develop an application where, suppose I'm going to give a presentation and I'm just popping out this or opening up this application and showing it to my users and different analysis that I have made, so that it gives a good impression when you have some sort of dynamic presentation, or some sort of dynamic way of showing your analysis, not just slides and all. So these are like few of the things which I have observed and seen that the web application framework can help us doing the analysis in a better way and help us doing the work much more faster way. So without further talking, I just wanted to introduce this concept. So here is a quick demo application which I will be explaining to you what it is doing, and it's a very simple and basic application, and it does nothing but it accepts some text from you and display it. So let's go and run this app, and later I will show you the functioning. So if you will have a good idea about what it is doing, you can easily connect it back to the coding. So let's go and hit the run app. Here it is having a title that this is a demo app. As you can see, I have given here in the title panel that this is the demo app, so that's what it is getting displayed over here. If I'll just scroll it a little bit right. Yep. The next thing is input text to display. That's where I have given input text to display. This is what it is giving, and then basically a text input based on this function. So if you will observe that whatever I'm entering will going to be displayed over here. So let's say if I enter my name A P, as I'm entering over here, you are seeing that it is getting displayed over here. So it is very, I would say, reactive in nature, and this word you will hear reactive a lot because that's what it is, basically a reactive programming. Based on what you are entering here, it is having a reaction and giving it back the result. So how this reactive and all these reaction happens and output comes, we will going to discuss in few moments. But at the end of the day, this simple demo app is doing nothing but displaying what we are entering. So let's say I live in India. That's what it is writing. As simple as that. Here, if you observe, it has couple of icons like publish, which we will discuss how we can publish the applications. Open in browser, something like if I want open this application in my web browser, refresh, and the path, the local path from where it is generating the web application. So let's quickly discuss the inherent structure of this application. As you can see, I have imported the library, which is Shiny, and then I'm saying the UI, the user interface. So it has two main parts. First is the UI, second is the server. So UI is basically a front end, that thing that you will design. So something like in the title we are saying this is demo app, it's getting displayed in the UI. Text input, this is the text input with this text input to display text. And finally here we are saying you are entering, and we are saying give the text output. So we are saying you are entering and the text output. So all of this information which is related to user interface is going into the UI, and all the processing, that means the information that we are entering is getting displayed over here. All this information is getting processed over here. Okay, so within the UI you have fluid page. So what that means is basically if you are having so different users have different settings for their monitors and all, so application will be adjusted and page will be fluid and adjustable enough so that it can accommodate within the space of your laptop or of your monitor. So that's what saying fluid page. We are opening a bracket and the first parameter within this function. So all these things are different functions if you will see at a high level, and within these functions we have different parameters. So fluid page is like, let's say, one function, and we have opened the parenthesis. Within that we have title panel, and with it is basically saying that what title you want to give to your application straightforwardly. Then we are saying this is a demo app and it's getting displayed over here. Second thing is sidebar layout. These are like different layouts which is available to you. Here I have chosen the very popular sidebar layout, which is saying that control on the left hand side, that means whether input box, select or any other list box input should be on the left hand side, and all the results should be here on the right hand side. So it is saying that within the sidebar layout we want a sidebar panel. This is a sidebar panel, and within the sidebar panel we want text input. So this is a text input where you can enter text, and here we are giving an ID first that is related so that you can actually recognize or do some sort of functioning based on this ID in your server side or the processing side. So to identify this is the ID, and this is the text we want to display to this text box. So we have said input the text to display. That's what it is getting displayed over here. Now we have completed this, put a comma, then we say apart from sidebar panel we need a main panel, and within the main panel we are simply saying that hey, you are entering within the paste function. So that is what it is coming, you are entering, and after the comma the catchy part is text output. So text output is nothing but it is giving you the output what you are entering over here. I live in India, so that's what it is saying. And this text output, you will observe, is nowhere mentioned here within the UI, but it is communicating it from the server part of this code. So within the server, if you see this particular option, text output, that's where all of this functioning is happening, but getting displayed over here with the help of this ID. So for input we have given the input ID, for output within the server we are giving the output ID. So because we want a text output, that's why I have said text output. Let's say if I wanted a plot output, then I would have said plot output. So probably you got the idea what I meant by that. So text output, and simply we are saying txt output. That's what we have specified here. So now let's go to, because we are done with this, we have closed all the parentheses that we started, and within the server part we are saying that this is a Shiny server in which we want to do the processing. Again opening the parentheses. So again here also everything is a function. Here we define a custom function where we are saying input, output, input to take the input from UI, and output to give the output back to UI. So here we are saying output $text output. So this is the text output we want to send it to the UI part, and that's what we are declaring over here. And we are saying render text. So render text is something that whatever user is entering or the processing information is happening should go here in the text output and render on the screen. So render text, if it is a plot, then it will be render plot, and so on and so forth. That we will see in the coming videos. But idea is, if it is a text, then render text. If it is a plot, then render plot. If it is a table, then render table. All that different components, based on that this information will be changed. Open a parenthesis and curly braces, that's a standard syntax. And we are saying nothing but simply paste input, whatever you are inputting here in the text input. So whatever I am entering over here, that's what it is taking it. And with the help of this text output, it is giving it back here in the UI and getting displayed over here. So that's how this entire function works. So it is completely based on input and output. I'm giving the input here, it is reading the input here, and based on the processing it is generating some output in this function, and it is getting displayed over here. So it's like back and forth communication between these two functions. That's all is required as of now. Definitely there are other parts, but almost your more than 95% of the work will be done over here in these two different sections, UI and server. And finally, to run the application, Shiny app is the function within which you define what is the UI name and what is the server name. So that's the same name we have given. So UI is equal to UI, server is equal to server. These are the two parameters you can give, and then you can hit the. So since I have already loaded the app, that's why I'm saying reload app. But if I go and close this, you can see it's a run app. So if I hit the run app, that's what it will again show, and I can enter whatever I want and it will be displayed perfectly fine. So that's very quickly I wanted to tell you about the UI and the server. Let's do a quick experiment with another component, which is let's say select input, a drop down that you get, and based on the selection of the drop down you want to display the same thing. So I've just put a comma because within the sidebar panel, apart from text input, I want another input. So I will enter a comma and hit, and I will say so that is select input, which is select input, and we will say select, let's say input, just any name, select the country you live in, and we will give a third parameter. So here in this case we need to tell this function that what are the choices available to me. The earlier we did not provide any choice because it was a free field, but here we want to give the choices. So the name is, the parameter is same, choices is equal to, and within the vector we will specify some countries, let's say India, let's say USA, UK, or maybe Germany. So we are good here. Now we have given the information to UI that we want to display this. It will be displayed, but we need to process the information also. So generally what I usually do, I go into this main panel and I say, again I want to, let's say, render the text or display the text, then I will say text output, and I will say, let's say country output. So here if you see text output is something which I mapped it here. Another I have given it country output, and I will produce another function or another reactive function, I would say. So I would say output dollar, in the same function I can copy this so that it has UI has a connection with the server, and I will say, because I want to display text, so here you can see text, table, data table, plot, print, a lot of information is coming. So we want to display text. open the curly brace to have a standard syntax, and we will say nothing but paste again input. So input is part of this function input, which is taking input from this UI. Input dollar and the name of the ID of this component, select input, SLCT input. That's all I need to do currently to display the information. I will hit save, I will hit run app, and now you can see another component is coming. So I would first say shake and select the country you live in. So by default it is coming India. Let's say if I am in Germany, then I hit Germany. So think it like kind of a user form that is there to gather the input from your users. You can very simply create one form and at the end ask them to submit it, and all of your information you can store somewhere, which we will definitely discuss in future videos, but that's how you can also collect the information. So this is pretty much all I wanted to discuss in this video, but before I close I will tell you about what are the things that you can do, apart from this structure, what is the other structure available to develop the Shiny app. So if you're observing my screen over here, UI.r or server.r, these are like the two different files you can create where you can have your codes available and basically maintain in a far better way. Instead of one single file is having all the code, you can divide the code in two files. So something like UI.r will just have the Shiny UI related information, the first part, and the server.r will just have the output information, what are the output that you want to generate. But if you will observe this final part is missing, which I have in the application Shiny app, because this type of structure generally get executed directly from here, from the command line, with the help of the run app function. So within the run app, we need to provide the name of the folder in which this application is, and then it gets executed. So if you see, it is saying Shiny hello world UI.r. So hello world is basically we need to say, I think it's without space, yeah, hello world is what we need to say, but we need to make sure that we are in that subdirectory where this hello world folder is. So if I would just simply say hello world, it says no Shiny application exists in the path hello world. So how to correct that? You will first check what is your current working directory, C user AB Agarwal documents, but we need to go in the Shiny folder. So we will set the path with set working directory. I will just copy this entire application, copy, paste, and put Shiny because I know that's where my folder is. And now I can simply go and run this application, and it's a simple application, and that's how it will be run. So that's just another way I wanted you to show that you don't have to have the entire code in one application. You can divide the code, have UI.r file, server.r file, and run the application from here, from the command line, and have a better management of application. And generally when the project gets big, that's how you need to go in and execute your project. So that's pretty much all I wanted to discuss in this video, and I hope you found this video useful for the starting with the Shiny applications, and I will meet you in a new video with a new topic. Hi there, this is Abhishek, and in this video I will talk about a simple Shiny web application in which you can display your data by filtering it on a particular value. So for example, here we have the cancer data by state, and we have many states in the US. So the data set is so huge that in one go you cannot view the entire data. That's why a simple web application will help anyone to filter the data based on their interest of state of which they want to see the data, and then you can view it. So for example, if I'm interested in seeing the Michigan data, so here is a Michigan data that I can see, or if it is like Montana, then that's the data I will display over here. So it's a simple web application just for an illustration. Sometimes it is helpful also that along with the analysis you are showing the data table. So in this video we'll talk about, or I will go through step by step about how you can achieve this simple interface which is helpful for producing a table like this, which is getting input by this input or the select input box. So let me close it here. Let's first see the data, which is this cancer data I have. If I show you, then I will use the view command and I will put the object cancer. So here is a big cancer data having around 3041 observation. If you want to see it more perfectly, you can see it by this showing new window. Here a new window will generate and show you much better result, where you can do a search and filter also. So the objective is that we want to show, or we want to present this data in much more readable format by showing it in a web application which is taking an input from the user and then filtering the data and showing the data set back to the user. So for that, here I have simple code in UI.R and server.R. If you remember from my past video, I was having the app.r as a single file where I have both UI.R and server.R functions. So if I go in here, this was the app, the demo app, where I have the UI and server, and then in the end I was running the app. So I have given you that demo already, and in this what I am trying to show you that you can bifurcate this UI or server.R into two different files so that the code is much more manageable. However, there is nothing which is changing from a code perspective or a standard syntax perspective. So in UI.R we are first importing the library which is Shiny, and then we are saying the first function which is fluid page, and then within this fluid page the first parameter is title panel, which itself is another function to show the title. After this we want to go ahead with the sidebar layout. So what the sidebar layout is, just to tell you again, let me run the application again by this run app and then the name of the folder where I have this UI.R and app server.R files. So if I run it, that's basically a sidebar layout. So cancer data by state is here in part of this title panel, and the sidebar layout saying that on the side we should have all the controls. So here in this case of select input, so after sidebar layout we are saying sidebar panel, which is this, and main panel is the right side, the space that you have on the right side. Within the sidebar panel we are saying that we need a select input, which is taking 3 parameters. So select input is this drop down box basically, and taking the first parameter to identify this input box, so that's the ID. Selector state is the value we are giving so that it is user friendly. Third is the choices. Now this is little advanced, because if you remember from my previous video, we have given the choices like this, the manual choices. India, USA, UK, Germany are the countries we have given to select input. But here in this case, in this UI.R, we are not giving the values or the hard-coded values. The reason is that we have I think more than 50 values of having the state information, or at least something which is not a user-friendly way, or not from a coding perspective is not a right way of hard coding it. But based on that data, or based on the state that is coming into the data, you just want to pick that up, you don't want to hard code that. In that case, I have simply given a cancer $state, and this vector is going into this choices and then displaying the values dynamically. So that's a little advanced thing, or a next step I have taken in this video by assigning dynamically state values to the input box, which is this input box. So if you get a new data in which any of the state is missing, the same will be missing here. You don't have to really worry about that why the data is not getting displayed for even if the value is here. So that's how it helps. After this, it's nothing but very simple main panel giving the table output, this table output by the ID cancer data. Now this cancer data is here in the server.r over here, the cancer data, which is taking the output. So again, the code is simple, that within the Shiny server, and the standard syntax is function taking the input from the UI, giving the output back to UI. So output $cancer data, and because we want a table, that's why we are saying or opening the function render table, which is a reactive function. The reactive function means that whenever user is changing any value, the table value is also getting changed. So that's the bad definition, or that's the meaning of a reactive function. So here render table is a reactive function, and here with the help of subset function, we are subsetting the values based on the state and giving it back to the state filter, or this object which is getting displayed on the front end. So what it is basically saying, that subset cancer is the main data set, and subset it by state, then cancer $state equals to. So that's the important thing, that you have two equals to sign by assigning the input $in state value. So input is basically saying take the input from the UI, and the ID from which, or the component from which you need to take the input, is the in state. So if you see the in state within the UI.r, then it is nothing but this in state from the select input. So if you go here in server.r, then it is giving you all the input, filtering the data, the cancer data, assigning it back to this object, which is getting displayed here in the table output, the cancer data. Okay, so once you are done, then you just need to run the app like this by this function from the command prompt. So if I close this again and say run app cancer, then all this information is getting displayed, and I can select any display state like Arizona, and all my information will be displayed dynamically to me. I can go and select Colorado or Alabama, anything. So that's one easy way where we can get all the dynamic input in an input box and display our results on the right hand side, so that user don't have to really go through 3400 different records at one go, but can go state by state and do their further data analysis or look into detailed data. So one last thing before I close this video is setting up the folder structure. So this folder structure is important, and if I hit escape, then I will come back to the command prompt, and I will put get working directory is my command. So get working directory is basically this: C users, my name, documents, and then Shiny. So Shiny is the main folder where all my different applications are stored. So if I go in here, documents, within documents I have Shiny, and within Shiny I have these different working applications. So one is the one which I'm showing is this cancer. So I have this folder cancer, and within this folder I have UI.r and server.r. The same thing, you need to basically make sure that if your path is not like this, that means indicating the folder where all your different folders are stored having the UI.r and server.r code, then you need to make sure that you are doing that, because if you don't do, it will throw you an error that it cannot identify the application that you want to run. So this is basically the name of the folder I am running within the run app function, which is having UI.r and server.r. So here, this is the folder name I'm running. It has having ui.r and server.r, and I'm done. Hit enter and I have the application. If I want it in a browser, I can go here in the browser and do the same thing, selection and getting the values displayed. So that's pretty much all I wanted to discuss in this video, and I will meet you in the new video, the new topic. Hi there, this is Abhishek, and in this video I will talk about how you can create histogram via the command line interface, and then we'll see how we can take the same histogram back into the Shiny web application framework. So histogram is basically the most frequently created charting object to see how the data is distributed, and most of the time we just go ahead and enter the command information in the command line or the required function in the command line and create a histogram. So basically the command for creating a histogram within RStudio or within R is hist, H-I-S-T. If you want to know about it, then just put a question mark before it and say hist, and it will show the information about histogram. So what it needs is basically a vector of values for which histogram is desired. So that's basically initial input that is needed. Apart from that, everything else is optional, and you can use it and make it your histogram more meaningful. So let's go ahead and use it. It's in a very simplest form where we are just supplying the vector information. So let's go ahead and hit hist, and we will use the cancer data that we used in the last example. So we'll enter cancer dollar and the numeric variable. Make sure that you are giving the numeric variable, otherwise it will throw an error. So let's give this fourth variable C-long, which is one of the numerical variable in the cancer dataset, and here you will get the cancer long or the C-long histogram for the C-long variable. Similarly, if you need histogram for any other variable to see the distribution of data, you can just simply select another variable and enter, and it will show you the information. So that's generally we want to create, just to have an understanding about how the data is distributed. So apart from this, as you could see within the help, that it has other informations like breaks is like bins, how many bins you want. So bins is nothing but the number of different parts that you are seeing. Apart from that, you have X lab and Y lab, something which is generally required because you want to give a name to X axis and Y axis. So some name to X axis and name to Y axis. In that case, you use these different parameters. There are a lot others which you can explore and may be useful when you are want some sort of advanced behavior from your histogram. So for the sake of simplicity, we'll just go ahead and see how we can achieve a similar sort of a histogram within the Shiny web application framework, and where the intention is that we can select all the filters, all the fields which is in the cancer dataset. So if I hit cancer dollar, that means all these different fields, and based on the selection of the field, we will going to get the histogram automatically updated on the web application. So let's go ahead and try to modify our last application. There we created ui.r for the UI and server.r to do the data processing. Here we will simply try to modify the same thing to have plot or the histogram instead of table output. So the first thing is the select input. Here we are saying select a state, but in this case we will saying that select a field to create histogram. And for choices, earlier it was all the values of cancer state, so that's why we have given this cancer dollar state. But this time we need all the fields which is in the cancer dataset. So for that you can use the function which is names, and within names you will say cancer. So that will give all the field values which is in the cancer dataset to the drop down, because we have specified it as a choices. After this, we don't need table output, we need plot output because histogram is one of the kind of a plot. So now we are good here until this point. In the UI we have set up the drop down box where we can select the field for histogram. We have provided what should be the fields, and then we have specified that, hey, give us the plot of this cancer data. So now let's go into server.r for this cancer data and do a configuration. So within server.r, here we have given some sort of a filter in the previous video because we wanted to do a filter based on the city value that we were providing. But this time we don't need this. We basically need a histogram. So we will say hist, that's the command. And within hist, we want to give cancer dataset. And within cancer dataset, we need all the rows, but we need, so that's why in the first, and I'm not specifying anything before the comma that I just mentioned. So if I hit the comma, that means first is rows, second is column. So we want all the rows, that's why I'm not specified anything. But in the column, we want to take a dynamic input. So that's why we will use this input function, the input parameter in this function, to get the input from the UI. So we'll say input $instate. Instate is basically the ID that I specified for this select input. So we have not changed it, we are just using the same thing just for the demonstration, but you can have it like more meaningful, maybe like in field instead of in state. So after that, input $instate, I think we should be okay. But before that, one other thing is we don't need a table, we need to render a plot. So we will go and change it, render plot. We will save everything here, and hopefully everything should work fine now. And for that we will go ahead and hit the run app. Okay, so as you can see, some error is coming. It's because it's saying X must be numeric, and that's because state field is a character field having all the state values. But as you'll go ahead and select the rate male, it will show the bar, the histogram. So if I select next variable, which is numeric, it will show me another variable. The histogram updated for C long, for CL stat, and for NISR. So that's how you can get all the field values from your data set into a drop down box, and then get the histogram updated based on the value of your interest, the one which you want to see the histogram for. So that's how you can very quickly and very interactively create a histogram and make your data analysis more automated and more meaningful and more fast by using this Shiny Web Application Framework. So that's pretty much all I wanted to discuss, but I really encourage you that you try its different parameters. If you are aware about, if you're not aware about, then you go ahead and read these breaks, frequency, probability, density function, which is very nice, and bit advanced, and a couple of others, and try how you can use this within this application framework. Something like the label, the X label and Y label you want to give by using X lab, Y lab, by giving a free text field to the user so that whatever they can enter, they can just simply go ahead and do that, and the same will be updated over there in the histogram in the Shiny Web Application Framework. So the hint for that is see my first video where I have used the free text field, and that will show you how you can dynamically show free text information there on the Shiny Web Application Framework. But that's pretty much all I wanted to discuss, and I'll meet you in the new video with a new topic. Hi there, this is Abhishek, and in this video I will talk about how you can add the interactivity in the bar chart utilizing the Shiny package. So in my previous video I have talked about how you can create the bar chart by using the bar plot function and then how you can adjust its properties like legend or group bar chart or step bar chart. And in this video we will see how we can utilize the Shiny package and add the interactivity for our end user, so that those who are utilizing our bar chart don't have to write any command or anything, but most of these options are intuitive enough so that they are selecting or checking the, let's say, checkbox and making sure that the relevant action is happening. For example, if we have a stack bar chart, so from stack bar chart we want to create group bar chart, then there is an option for creating a group bar chart. So if you see here is a quick Shiny UI package where we have the Shiny UI, the standard syntax and fluid page. For the title panel we are saying bar chart, and after the comma we have sidebar layout. So sidebar layout is basically specifying that we need on the left hand side we need all our control panel, control like checkbox, select bar, stuff like that. So within the sidebar layout we need to specify sidebar panel and then the control name. So right now I have specified checkbox input for sidebar, and what I'm specifying that create a sidebar for this example. Finally, after the comma we have main panel, so the third component of Shiny UI, and which specifies that we want to plot output of bar, that means bar chart. This bar is specified over here, so that is a part of output $bar function, which is basically taking the output from this reactive render plot function, and all of this is happening under the Shiny server. So Shiny server is basically to do all the processing, or basically to perform all the actions or instructions you are giving in the front end. So what it takes is basically the input that you are basically getting from the front end, and output that you are having over here from this reactive function, and output is going back to the UI in the main panel. So within the server.r, what we are specifying is the empty cars. For empty cars package we are aggregating the data using the tapply function, the same function I have applied when I have used the bar chart in the previous example. So this basically gives us the mpg miles per gallon by the automatic or manual car type, and based on how many gears a car is having. So based on that we are getting the cross table, and what we want is basically mean, that means the average of mpg. So this bar is producing the data set that is needed to create the bar chart. In the next line we have the bar plot function to create the bar chart, and the first parameter is to specify the data set, and we are saying beside, which is an argument to tell whether we want a stack bar chart or side by side bar chart. So when beside is specified to input $sidebar, this sidebar is specified over here as a checkbox. So once we are giving the input to our Shiny application that we need sidebar, this function will start performing the action. So let's see this entire thing into action by going on to the run app, and here we have the bar chart, and as expected on the left hand side we have the create sidebar. So once I click over here, it gives, or it reacts and gives us the bar chart which is side by side. So that's the first thing that you can do and create an interactivity and options for the end users where they can go ahead and choose whatever is feasible or right for them for their analysis. So that's the first thing I wanted to cover. The second thing that is very beneficial is sometimes to choose what value we want to show on the x-axis and y-axis. So right now on the x-axis we have gears, and on the y-axis we have miles per gallon, and then this data is by these stacks are by AM, that is automatic or manual car type. So if you see, this is like automatic and this is manual, and miles per gallon is better in manual car for the 4-cylinder. So that's the one thing that we are getting. Another option which I just said is how we can specify the x-axis and y-axis. So for that we need to write some additional code, and for that let's go here and first of all go into the UI.R and specify the inputs for x-axis and y-axis. So select input and let's say call it x-axis, and we want to mention in the front end to the user select the value for x-axis, and let's say we want by default selected as here, right? Put a comma, again select input, we want y-axis, and we say select the value for y-axis, and let's say selected is equals to mpg. By default we want these two things to be selected. So we are good here. We have given the two controls, selection for x-axis and selection for y-axis. Now go to the server.r and create or modify this tapply function. So right now we are fixing the y parameter to $mpg, but in this case we want the input from the end user. So for that what we may need to do is we need to use empty cars, which is an inbuilt data set which I was using for this example, and I modify it by putting two brackets and put a comma. So the value before the comma specify the rows, and value after the comma specify the column, and we want the column from the front end. So in this case input $. So since this is y-axis, we are saying y-axis. So what it will have the column name that we are specifying in the front end for y-axis. Same is the stuff we need to do. So right now let's just create a simple one and not a bar chart which is having two parameters. So empty cards input $x-axis, which we have by default specified gear. So if I hit save, one thing I need to specify over here is the drop down. What are the values that need to be there in the drop down? So for that I will use column names function, and I will put empty cars, put a comma, otherwise there will be nothing in the front end for drop down box. Column names empty cars. So with this function we will get the values in the drop down of the select input or the control. So let's go ahead and click reload. Now if you can see, we have bar chart, we have two controls, x-axis and y-axis, and sidebar. The sidebar will not work in this case because we are not specifying the value, or we have not done the configuration in the backend. But here in this case I can select any value for my x-axis. Currently it is gear. If I want, I can select automatic or manual car type, so 0 and 1, or maybe any other thing. Let's say I want to select the cylinders, CYL. So this is something which is good to have, but sometimes user may confuse or may get confused because they may select MPG and MPG. Well, in this case, if you are trying to figure out some sort of a relevant figures then or meaningful to you, then okay. Otherwise, generally on x-axis you have the categorical data, so like CYL. And similarly for y-axis you can change the values, displacement or chart or whatever is your chart, whatever your chart is basically, or your analysis is required. So that's about how you can quickly add the interactivity and make your user happy and give them all the options, you know, which they really need, so that they have less and less requests to you. So after this, you may definitely want to add couple of more values in the list to create a group bar chart or stack bar chart. Well, for that I am leaving as an exercise to you about how you can do that. but the hint is that you need to add another value over here in the list similar to this one, and then specify it for the x1 or y1 axis. So same is the case, you need to give the y-axis that we are selecting MPG, what another y-axis you want, y2 axis, and same is the stuff you will need to specify based on what you are giving. So that's pretty much all I wanted to discuss in this video, and I'll meet you in the new video with a new topic. Hi there, this is Abhishek, and in this video I will talk about how you can create the button in your data tables. So in one of my previous videos I have talked about how you can create the data tables in Shiny. So data tables, as you know, is a easy way to create interactive tables which user can easily filter or go back and forth to see the data. So a quick example, if I'll show you, if I don't run app where I have a table already created for the iris data table, I will show you the structure also. So this table is a very simple data table, little bit interactive in nature, because like this it has given a number of pages. So page 1, 2, 3, I can show multiple values like 25 values in one page like this, and do the search. Like I just started typing the letters, and it has looked into the entire table and filtered it by species. So what I now want to show you is that this is easy, you can go ahead and just create the table. So if I go back to the code, it's very simple. So as per the standard of Shiny, you need to have UI.R and server.R, and within that I am importing the library Shiny, and this is the standard structure where the main thing I'm doing here is in the main panel, where I'm saying that dt : data table output iris, and this is mentioned here in the server, where again I'm importing the library Shiny within the Shiny server function, which is a standard syntax. What I'm saying is, give me the output of iris. So this iris, this particular word iris, is present over here, iris. So that's the thing you need to make sure. And then create a data table, which is dt : render data table. When you will write this and just give the object name iris, it will going to produce the table, which was if I stop it here and run it again, you will see it was present over here. So that's how you can very easily go ahead and create the data table. Now the another thing is that how you can create something like buttons, where you can download the data which is printed on the screen, or save it into a PDF, or copy it. So for that you need to extend this syntax little bit, so that you have the available options of render data table. So first of all, for that I need to convert into a proper function. So I will remove the curly braces of a reactive function, and then start adding the extensions. So first of all, after comma, I will say extensions is equals to buttons, options is equals to list, and then DOM, which is document object module, is equals to BFR TIP, and then the name of the buttons, so which will be list. So buttons is equals to, within the list we will specify what we want. We want copy, we want PDF, we want CSV, maybe Excel, and print. Probably these are all the things which we want in a table. For more comprehensive discussion or list, you can go on the package and figure it out, but this is something which we frequently use, and generally we use CSV and Excel most of the times, not even copy in PDF, but I've just shown you the couple of options. So save, I will save it, stop the application which I ran it earlier, and let's try to run it. So now as you can see, I have the buttons enabled for me based on the changes I have done in the document, and the extension that I have added. So if I now want to download something in a CSV format, or the information which is present over here, I can just click on the CSV, hit enter. Now this data table is downloaded. I will click on this. It should show me 10 observations. So yeah, it is showing me the 10 observations which are present over here. Similarly, if I want in PDF, I can hit PDF, or if I want to print, I can hit the print. So that's how very easily you can add more interactivity to your data table and make it more meaningful for your end user. Hi guys, welcome to my channel, our video tutorial. I'm Abhishek and I share the videos related to our tutorial, and in this video we will going to talk about the R Shiny widget, which is a text input Shiny widget. So as you are aware that most of the times we need text boxes to get the free text information from the users so that they can enter the details, and then it can be displayed as part of the display, or it can be part of another routine, maybe storing into a database, or maybe some other actions based on the information which is being entered by the end user. So for that we need most of the time the text box, and we will see how we can do it. As you can see, this is just a code or a structure for a blank Shiny application, where we have the Shiny UI, the header panel, the sidebar layout, sidebar panel, and finally the main panel. This is always I have, and I would recommend that you should also have as a standard code so that you don't have to write it again and again whenever you are developing any new Shiny application. So this is a pseudocode for UI, and this is the code or a structure code for the server, where I have the minimum code just so that I have the application, blank application, and up and running. So if I just click run app, I have nothing but just a simple application showing me text input Shiny widget, which I have shown it over here, and I can move on and continue adding whatever I need. So I will just close this and I will come back here into a sidebar panel, and within the sidebar panel we will going to add the text input. So the option is basically, or the function is text input, and then you need to specify the ID, which is, let's say we want to get the information about the, so maybe it's probably related to project, so maybe project code, and then we'll say enter your project code. We'll put a comma and say text input again, text input again, the input ID, maybe we say project name, and say enter the project name, put a comma, and maybe let's add final one, text input, and maybe technology you are using. Alright, that should be fine for now. So we'll hit save, and now we'll go back into the server and create the functions which will help us take the input from here based on these project code, project name tag, and print this application and make a reactive function. So for that we will use output $project code, or maybe project underscore code, so that we can read it properly. We will add the code over here, and we will write within the project code, which is render text, and within the render text we will say input $project code. So this is the first, and then we will write again, or maybe output $, what I can write is project underscore name, the reactive function, and again render text, and we will write input $project name. Similarly we will do it for the third one, output $technology underscore used. So technology underscore used, we are okay, and let's add it the third one, which is render text, and we will use input $tech. Alright, so far we are good. So what we have done is we have added the input boxes on the sidebar panel. We are taking the input, and with this help of this input we are rendering or displaying the text, but that needs to go as an output within the main panel. So for that we will use this text output, and within that we will pass on the server object, which is here project_code, project name, and technology used. So first is project_code, comma, again text output, which is project_name, and then finally the technology_used. I think it was a small t if I'm not wrong. Go ahead and let's check this. Technology_used, input project name, project_name, project_code. Alright, we are all good. I think we can good here. We have done entire thing. Now we can go ahead and let's say run the app. So text output. Okay, T is missing. OUT T. Save it. Let's run it again. And as you can see, we have the input boxes available now, and where we can enter. So let's say enter project code, which is A001. As you can see, this A001 is coming properly over here. Let's enter the project name, which is Shiny App Development. So this Shiny App Development is here, which is good now. And let's say technology that you are using is the R programming. So this is how your text box can be created, which is looking really good, and it is reactive to the text object. That means whatever you are going to write will going to be displayed over here, or any other configuration that you have done over here to make it interactive for the end user. So as you can see, if I remove anything, it is removing from here. If I add again, it will keep on adding it. So it's really reactive. So that's how you can add the text inputs to your Shiny widget, Shiny application, and make it reactive and useful for your end user to display the information, or make it work with another code that is necessary for your application logic. Well, that's all for this video, and I'll meet you in the new video with a new topic.